done. I often start off my presentations in the sickle cell community with that African song because it reminds me of a heritage of hope for the blood. A heritage of hope for the blood. Again, I'm Mary Bentley LaMar, founder and executive director of the Sickle Cell Association of New Jersey. We affectionately call ourselves SCANJA. It gives me great pleasure to be here this morning because this gives me an opportunity to share with you my message about not just what sickle cell disease is and my role in the community, but also to celebrate your role and how we can honor Martin Luther King in doing so. It also gives me great pleasure to share how I came to know how Dr. King's dream is a reality in my life. And I know from what I can see of the NBE, he's a reality in your life as well. I want to thank Derek Hawkins, president of the NBE, for inviting me and you for inviting me. And I also want to give thanks for my husband, Ansley LaMar, Dr. Ansley LaMar, and our son, Hunter. Thank you. Now, I want you to journey with me. Come with me back to 1970. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana, my hometown. And we are in the sanctuary of the St. John's Missionary Baptist Church. It's Saturday morning. It is time to go to Operation Breadbasket, y'all. SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Indianapolis chapter of that organization. We're about to start the weekly rally on the radio broadcast. At this rally, we started off just like you did this morning with Lift Every Voice and Sing. Then you'd hear the freedom songs welling up. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom, hallelujah. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. We would sing those songs and then the speakers would come in. Dr. Joseph Lowry, you might know that name. He was at the right hand of Dr. Martin Luther King. Ralph David Abernathy came and spoke to us at that SCLC meeting on Saturday morning. He came in and spoke to us. Speakers from the community, they would come and let us know what needed to be going on, what we needed to advocate for. And it was there that I first learned as a teen, well, maybe I was a baby. It was there that I first learned about sickle cell disease back in 1970 as part of the SCLC, Operation Breadbasket. And it was also there that I got the seeds of being an activist, learning why it was important to be an advocate. So in that sanctuary, although I had already known about Dr. Martin Luther King, and really that's why I joined SCLC after he had been, after this was 1970, I was moved to join that organization so that I could make a difference. And it was there that I learned more about Dr. Martin Luther King and how he became a drum major for justice. And as you're gathered here today, the network of Black employees, I want you to think about what is it that you are coming together for? What are you learning from each other? What is important for you to advocate for? Now I can tell from your theme, advancing the dream together, what is my role? That you are remembering Martin, you are thinking beyond your individual selves, and you're searching for a way to advance the dream. So allow me to suggest a role for you. Now, I think Derek shared that I'm a singer. I've performed on Broadway, but anyway, I've done a lot of musical theater. But we would have different roles. So I have a role for you. Be a drum major. I want you to step out and be a drum major. Now, when I left Indiana and journeyed to New York over 30 years ago, I never thought I would establish a sickle cell agency. I came here to get into showbiz. That's right. And I was successful. My first show was Dreamgirls. I went on to work over 20 years in musical theater, traveling all over the country and different parts of the world. And that experience rounded me as an individual. Now, my experience after I transitioned out of showbiz, it led me into public relations. And I found myself working on a national campaign on sickle cell disease, where I had the opportunity to work with executive directors of community-based organizations, grassroots organizations in major cities all over the country: Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, St. Louis. And it was there that they welcomed me into their world. And I got right into the trenches with them and helped them with their programs while we were working on this campaign to raise awareness about sickle cell disease. And in that experience too, I learned, I had a deeper understanding of what sickle cell disease does. And the discrimination, the stigmas, the daily struggles that individuals with sickle cell disease had to deal with. So I was inspired by that experience, because I don't know how much you know about sickle cell disease, and I will tell you a little bit about it. To see someone who will have a devastating inherited blood disorder, that when you go into a pain crisis, and this is how our team spokesperson described it, she said it's like being hit by a truck and you can't move. That's how she described it. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about sickle cell disease. It is an inherited blood disorder. It's the #1 genetic blood disorder in the United States. It affects 80 to 100,000 people in the US and millions worldwide. Now, what is it? Well, when you have normal blood cells flowing throughout your body, they're soft and round, they hold oxygen, and you know your bloodstream is throughout your entire body. Well, sickle cells are hard and sticky. They're red blood cells, and they're shaped like that old farm instrument, the sickle, which is how it got its name. When Dr. James B. Harris saw it back in 1910, he looked at it with a microscope and he said, "Peculiar elongated cell shaped like a sickle," the farm instrument, the sickle, and that name stuck. And that's why it's called sickle cell disease. When it gets stuck within the bloodstream, it can cause excruciating pain. You're not getting the oxygen to your end organs, so it can cause damage to your kidneys, your lungs, your heart, your liver. So this is a major problem with it. And there is a cure, the bone marrow transplant, but it's not readily available for everyone. You have so many circumstances surrounding that, so it's still very risky. But I would be remiss if I didn't share with you what sickle cell disease is. Now, a lot of people think that it only affects people of color, African Americans or Africans, but that's not true. The reason it primarily affects people of color is because it started off as the body's way of defending itself against malaria. And where is malaria prevalent in the world? In Africa. But it's also prevalent, if you looked at a panorama of the world, you would see not only Africa, but you would see malaria prevalent in Africa, Asia, across the Mediterranean, wherever you see malaria prevalent in the world, that's where you see sickle cell disease. So I want you to understand where that comes from. 1 in every 10 to 12 African Americans has the trait. Now, trait is not a disease. You're healthy. It's like you inherit the trait for your color of your eyes or your hair, things like that. But trait means that if you also partner with someone, if your wife, husband has sickle cell trait, then each time there's a pregnancy, there's a 1 in 4 chance you can have a child with sickle cell disease. It's not saying you will, but you just need to know what your chances are. So when you get ready to start your family, then you know what your chances are if you have sickle cell trait and your partner also has trait. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. Now, I learned all of this in more detail while I was working on that national campaign. And when I finished that campaign, I live in New Jersey. I came back to New Jersey and it's like, there's no community-based agency here that's doing this kind of work. And I knew too much to sit on the information. Do you ever learn something and you know it will be for the good of somebody or something or someone? Just like when you started this agency, you know you got something that will be the good, not just for the black employees, but when you improve for one, you improve for everybody. You can't sit on that. You cannot sit on that information. I couldn't sit on all that I had learned and all I knew, so that's why I founded the Sickle Cell Association of New Jersey. I had to act. I had to step out and become a drum major for sickle cell disease. But I didn't do it by myself. I had to bring some other folks with me. That's what we talk about when you're making that network. Get a network. I found individuals who were willing to get on the board and to establish the SCA&J, and they became drum majors. So I told you I had a role for you, right? Well, your role is to be a drum major. I want you to be a drum major. Now, how does this tie in? It doesn't have to be for sickle cell disease. Let me share with you something. On February 4th, Dr. Martin Luther King, February 4th in 1968, make sure I get that fact straight. Dr. Martin Luther King, he delivered a sermon at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. And the theme for his sermon was the drum major instinct. The drum major instinct. He spoke to the instinct to be out front, to be recognized, to be praised. That's a basic human instinct. But he felt it was important, and he challenged the congregation to use that drum major instinct for good. Use it for the benefit of others. Go beyond yourself. So step out, but step out for the good. And we are advancing the dream that Dr. King envisioned. Every time you step out in service, you're advancing the dream. Today, you're advancing the dream. Those original NBE members who back in 1983 realized that there was a fight, that many who fight change and the benefits of diversity and inclusion that you embrace at the Port Authority, that there was work to be done. They created and fostered an environment at the Port Authority, New Jersey, from what I understand of your organization, that gave everyone, or that strives to give everyone, an equal chance. Somebody stepped out and was a drum major. You, as members of the NBE, I charge you to be a drum major, to step out front. Step out to enhance and encourage career development and growth for Black employees at Port Authority. This is what I understand from what you do. Step out to be the voice that assists with equality in the workplace. I got that from your information. Step out in providing and raising funds for charitable organizations. That's your charge. Step out in providing scholarships to students selected as high achievers. That's your charge. So I want you to come with me. We're going to journey. We're going to take a little step back in time. Let's go back to the sanctuary of Ebenezer Baptist Church. It's February 4th, 1968, and Dr. Martin Luther King is delivering his sermon. In that sermon, he made these remarks that I would like to share with you. And so Jesus gave us a new norm of greatness. If we want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. And then Martin Luther King went on to say, and this morning, the thing I like about it, by giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness, and all the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have the fine and luxurious things of life to leave behind. But I want to leave a committed life behind. And that's all I want to say. And then Dr. King spoke the following words. But if you don't mind, I'll sing them. Is that all right? Mm-hmm.